Hi everyone, welcome to Fintech Summer Sessions 23. My name is Sagar, I'm part of the Fintech Saudi team and really pleased to see so many people who have joined in for this course. If this is the first time that you're attending Fintech Summer Sessions, welcome. This is the best way to spend your long, hot evenings over the summer learning about Fintech. If you joined with us last year, welcome back. This is another session, another summer of Fintech activity and Fintech knowledge that will be participating with yourselves. So I'd just like to go through a few things related to Fintech Summer Sessions before we start with the first session. So Fintech Summer Sessions is a 10-week online summer training program for anybody who's interested in Fintech. It covers all the most important topics in Fintech at this time, and every session is covered and hosted and presented by an industry expert. So you're learning from the best of the best when you join the Fintech Summer Sessions. We've got, if you didn't join last year or you want to refresh, then we would encourage you to look at the Fintech Summer Sessions 22 recording. So all you need to do is put your phone over the QR code and that will take you to the YouTube channel with all the Fintech Summer Sessions 22 recordings. And we covered a lot of sessions last year on introduction topics. And this year we're going to be building on a lot of those topics. If you've received this link to join either from a Telegram channel or from one of your friends and you want to register for the other Fintech Summer Sessions, then do click on the other QR code, which will take you to the registration page and you can register for free for the remaining 9 Fintech Summer Sessions. So before we start, I just want to give you an overview of the topics which we're going to be covering in Fintech Summer Sessions 23. In Fintech Summer Sessions, we look to cover the most important topics happening in Fintech at this point in time. So this week, my colleague Munira will shortly be giving you updates on what's happening in Fintech in Saudi Arabia. Week 2 and week 3, we then start covering alternative finance models. So in week 2, we cover alternative finance models from a consumer perspective. And then in week 3, we cover alternative finance models from the company or SME perspective. And then week 4, 5, and 6 are all related to banking. So week 4, we cover digital banking. Week 5, we cover open banking and open finance. Week 6, we cover embedded finance and banking as a service. And then in week 7, we cover payments. Payments is a super important area in the kingdom. And we've got a session dedicated to payments in Saudi Arabia. Week 8 and week 9, we cover blockchain. So last year, we did have a session on blockchain. Unfortunately, it didn't go ahead. So this year, we're giving you 2 sessions on blockchain. The first one is going to cover introduction to blockchain. And the second one will cover applications of blockchain in financial services. And then week 10, we finish with the hottest topic of this year, what everyone's talking about, artificial intelligence, AI, and how that impacts financial services. So as I mentioned, we have industry leaders, the best of the best, which are delivering each of these sessions. We've got my colleague Munira, who will shortly be talking about the Fintech updates in Saudi Arabia. Next week, we'll have Abdulaziz Saja, who's the general manager for Tabi, talking about alternative finance models for consumers. And then we've got Paul the week after, who's the CEO of Areda, talking about alternative finance models for SMEs. Week 4, we have Sarah, who's the Chief Operating Officer for D360. So D360 is one of the 3 digital banks which are launching in the kingdom very, very soon. And then we have Ruba from Lean. Lean is one of the leading open banking companies in the region, which will be talking about open banking and open finance. Week 6, we're very pleased to have Arjun Singh joining us. If you don't know Arjun, have a look at him on LinkedIn. He's also got a podcast called Couchonomics, which covers everything related to fintech, and he's also a partner at Arthur D. Little, and he'll be covering embedded finance and banking as a service. In week 7, we have Sheikha from Saudi Payments, covering everything to do with payments in Saudi Arabia. And then week 8 and 9, we're pleased to have Athena and Nanand with us from Settlement. Settlement is a leading blockchain company, and they'll be covering the blockchain sessions. And finally, in week 10, we have Jared from Mozen. Mozen is one of my favorite fintech companies. They're doing a lot of work in artificial intelligence and machine learning. And Jared will be covering everything to do with AI in financial services. So just before we start, just a few housekeeping rules, and I know we've got quite a few Q&A questions related to certificates and attendance. So I just wanted to cover that off. You do get a certificate of attendance for joining the Fintech Summer Sessions, as long as you join 8 out of the 10 sessions, and you join for the majority of the 8 out of the 10 sessions. In terms of tracking your attendance, we track it through your email. So please, please, please use the same email address you can through all the sessions, because that makes our lives a lot easier in tracking your attendance throughout the summer period. Other thing we would say is, if you haven't already, join the Telegram group. The Telegram group has got 5,000 plus people on there already. The Telegram group is great for interacting. It's for us to share resources, to share links about what we talk about. All of that will happen in the Telegram group. So please use that QR code to join the Telegram group. Do also prepare any questions that you have. A lot of you have already started using the Q&A, but please do continue to use the Q&A to ask any questions you have related to fintech, and we'll try and answer and get through as many of those questions as possible. Another question we get asked a lot is, will this be recorded? Yes, this will be recorded. All the sessions will be put onto YouTube, and we will be sharing the link with you, and we'll also be sharing the slide decks with you. And the final thing I'd say is, have fun and share this knowledge. This is a great opportunity to learn about fintech from the best of the best, learn about what's happening in fintech from the basic level going up. Share this knowledge with others. If you know anyone else who's interested in joining the course, it is not too late for them to join us. So please do encourage you to share the registration link with any of your friends or family that could be interested in joining us for the following 9 sessions. So I think that's all I had to say. Thank you very much for listening. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Munira Al-Saber, who's going to go through fintech updates in Saudi Arabia. Munira, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sagar, for the very good introduction. And thank you all for attending the Fintech Summer Session. I'm happy to be here with you today. It's actually very exciting sessions. Me myself attended last year, and it was super exciting. I highly encourage all of you to attend the following sessions and get a good dive and a deep look on the fintech ecosystem and the updates of the fintech ecosystem. So before starting sharing the information that I have about what are the latest updates that we had since our last session in Saudi Arabia, let me just give you a quick overview about Fintech Saudi. So Fintech Saudi is an initiative that was launched in a collaboration between SAMA, the Saudi Central Bank, and CMA, which is the Capital Market Authority, back in 2018. We work at Fintech Saudi as let's say the main glow and the main connector between the fintech ecosystem players in Saudi Arabia. So we develop the fintech infrastructure. We build the skills and capabilities related to fintech. And most importantly, we support fintech entrepreneurs at every stage of their development. How do we do that? Simply through designing initiatives and creating initiatives that connect the ecosystem players, as I mentioned. For example, we connect job seekers with the fintech companies through our initiative, which is the Fintech Career Fair. We connect fintech companies with the regulators through multiple initiatives, such as the Accelerator. And we keep doing that. We keep designing initiatives. We keep creating initiatives that can actually connect the ecosystem players to solve their challenges and cover their needs, and to also level up the ecosystem, the fintech ecosystem here in Saudi Arabia. So let me just start by sharing the first interesting information that I have, or the first interesting update. So back in 2017, when the FSDP, which is the Financial Sector Development Program, was launched, it had 3 main pillars, which is presented here, is to promote and enable the financial planning, and to enable the financial institution to support the private sector growth, and to also ensure the formation of an advanced capital market. These were the 3 main pillars that the FSDP, the Financial Sector Development Program, was created and found based on. So last May 2022, something interesting happened, which is the Council of Ministers have approved the fintech strategy. And now the fintech strategy is actually considered to be the fourth pillar of the FSDP. So FSDP is now working towards these four main pillars to support the financial sector and the fintech sector here in Saudi Arabia. So before taking a deep dive into the fintech strategy, let's have a general look about the number of fintechs, the growth of fintechs that we had. So since the start of Fintech Saudi back in 2018, we had only 10 fintech companies. And throughout the years, which is 4 years till now, or 5 years actually, we have 14th time growth of the operating fintech companies in Saudi Arabia. So starting with 10 fintech companies, we've now reached 147, which is based on our last annual report in 2022. Next year, when you check our 2023 annual report, you also see, inshallah, a huge jump from the current number that we have. And these are only the operating fintechs. So starting from there, when we check our fintech strategy, the fintech strategy came with the vision for Saudi Arabia, for the kingdom to become a fintech nation. How can we become a fintech nation? Through these 6 drivers. So we have a fintech nation as our vision. We have 6 drivers that's related to the market positioning, which is promoting Saudi Arabia both regionally and globally as a fintech innovative hub. Also, development of the talent. We develop and improve the skills and the know-how that's related to fintechs. We enhance the technology enablers to create more innovative solutions related to artificial intelligence, open banking, cybersecurity, and more key trends in the technology, and also the regulatory framework to have a more trusty and mitigating the risk of complying to the international standards when it comes to the regulatory framework. When it comes to the 5th and the 6th driver, which is the market and funding and collaboration, it focuses on creating and designing initiatives and programs that actually support the fintechs to foster their entry to the market and reduce the market barriers for them to start operating in the market, and to also create programs that create the sense of collaboration between the fintech players, both locally, regionally, and internationally. So what is the result? So I'm actually just saying these definitions on what these 6 drivers mean. How can we transfer this into numbers? Well, we're saying that by 2030, we want to create 18,000 fintech jobs. We want to have 12.2 billion cumulative VC investment, and we want to have 525 operating fintechs in the market. So, and we have different, let's say, governmental entities that are related or actually have a huge mandate in making the fintech strategy happen and achieving these goals. We have SAMA, we have CMA, we have Fintech Saudi, we have MCIT, Munshaat, we have the Ministry of Investment, FSDP themselves, and we have the Ministry of Finance. So taking a look on how many fintechs we have now, since 2022's annual report of Fintech Saudi, we have 147. What we want to reach by 2030 is 525. I'm really happy to say that I've started this journey with Fintech Saudi, and it's actually a very interesting journey to support these fintechs, either by being part of these fintechs or actually supporting them and using their solutions. This will actually support the growth of the number of fintechs and the growth of the fintechs innovative solution here in the market. Another interesting thing that I would love to share is about the open banking. So we can see that open banking is a key trend internationally in the fintech industry. However, let's take a focus on how the open banking journey started. Let's say had a major achievements since last year till today. So only last August, SAMA permitted lean technologies to operate under SAMA's regulatory sandbox. This actually shows how fintech companies are actually creating solutions that are trendy, that are actually solving an actual challenges in the market. And in November 2022, SAMA released the open banking guideline. What does that mean? It means that SAMA is supporting the fintechs to create and develop their solutions within a very clear framework on how to develop the solutions that is related to the regulations. In January this year, SAMA launched the Open Banking Lab to support the fintechs to apply to the Open Banking Lab and get their solution tested. Last month, or let's say 2 months ago, more and more fintech companies in the open banking are getting permitted. For example, we have Tarabut Getaway, we have Dirham, Single View, and more than just these 3 fintech companies, we have them now in the open banking lab. And only last month, Bank Al Bilad was considered to be the first Saudi bank to comply with the open banking API, the one that was released by SAMA. So we're seeing a very huge achievements coming related to the open banking within a very short time period. And we're also seeing, as I mentioned, more and more fintech companies getting permitted. So we have Boatic, we have Single View, Lean, Dirham, Mala'a. So when we check Lean and Tarabut Getaway, they're more related, for Lean, they're more related to developing the APIs. And when we check on Dirham and Mala'a, they're more related on creating open banking solutions for the end users. And only yesterday, we have the first fintech company that get its certificate, which is Spare. So Spare yesterday got its certificate from the Open Banking Lab. So we're seeing more and more achievements that happened since last year till today, till actually yesterday. So what's next in the open banking journey in Saudi Arabia? So we're expecting the release of the open banking regulations. This will actually, let's say, shorten or foster the journey for the fintech companies who are in the open banking to get licensed and to operate in the market. And we're also expecting the launch of the account information service and the payment initiation service, which is considered to be the main 2 key services in the open banking that actually creates a secured and authorized access to the user's financial information. So the third thing that is actually interesting, so once we learned about the fintech strategy, the open banking journey here in Saudi Arabia, let's check what are the latest updates that's related to the regulators. So here in Saudi Arabia, we have 2 main regulators. The first one is SAMA and the second one is CMA. So with SAMA's regulatory sandbox and CMA's fintech lab, we're seeing since last year, we had more updates. So for SAMA, for example, as I mentioned, the launch of the open banking lab. And the regulatory sandbox framework, this is very interesting actually, moved from a cohort-based approach to an always open approach. So instead of fintechs applying to the sandbox on a cohort base, which I believe used to be twice a year, it's now open for them all year. They can apply anytime. This means that we can see more and more fintech companies getting into the sandbox or applying to the sandbox, getting permitted, and actually then being operated in the market. And we're also seeing more of buy now, pay later companies getting permitted, such as Madfu and Spotty. And we're actually seeing a very creative solutions that is related to buy now and pay later. For for CMA, we had the launch of the Open Data Library. This is actually a very super interesting activity that CMA did, because for that activity, it means it's not only going to support the fintech companies, It's going to support the tech companies. It's going to support the researchers, the innovators, the product development to develop a more innovative solution. How? By getting access to the real-time data. We're seeing the actual data that CMA has related to fintech, and we can actually check it out and use it to develop our solutions. And we also have the approval of the regulatory framework for the equity crowdfunding. Another interesting thing that happened is that we're seeing that we're being a data-driven ecosystem. So we're seeing more and more entities having their own data sandbox for example, MCIT Sandbox. We have also Rajhi and Al-Awwal Sam, they have their own sandbox. We have CMA's API, SAMA's Open Banking Lab, Sadaya, and more we have of the data-focused sandbox. What does that translate? What does that mean, having a data-driven or a data-focused sandbox? It means we're going to have more and more effective fintech solutions coming to the market. It means that these solutions are actually focusing on an actual data that is being here in the market. It's actually making its decision-making based on this data. So it's being more focused. And all of that actually resulted, as we can see in the market internationally, we can notice that there is a decrease in the VC investment in the fintech industry. However, this is not the case in Saudi Arabia, which is very interesting. We're actually seeing more and more VCs investments numbers here in Saudi Arabia. So if we check on the last 5 years, from 2018 till 2022, we can see 4 billion cumulative VC investment that happened there. And we can see from last year that fintech companies like Tamara, Foodix, Hyperpay are getting VC investment opportunities. You can check more of these VC investment opportunity in our annual report. But this is actually a very interesting information, because it actually shows us that there is an actual market growth, an actual interest in the fintech ecosystem and the fintech industry. Another interesting information or an update, which I personally believe that it shows how healthy and how healthy the market is, and how development is the market. We're seeing more of the merger and acquisition activities happening between the fintech companies. So only few years ago, we were talking about a standalone fintech companies. Now we're seeing fintech companies acquiring and being merged with other fintech companies. For example, we have Foodix acquired POS Rocket. We have Wamad with acquiring Direct VN, Hala with Payment, and PayTabs with Digital Pay. We're also seeing fintech companies getting listed. So only by the end of last year, 2022, SurePay was listed in Numu. This actually shows how healthy, which I personally believe it shows how healthy and evolving the fintech industry and the fintech ecosystem here in Saudi Arabia. So basically, these are all the latest updates that I have here in fintech ecosystem and the fintech industry in Saudi Arabia. In the fintech ecosystem, as I mentioned. So I'm here sharing with you very useful resources that I would highly encourage you to check out. You have the Fintech Access Guide, which shows you what are the steps that you need to take to operate or to create a fintech company or a fintech solution. I also highly encourage you to let's say, subscribe to our newsletter to get the latest updates on the fintech ecosystem and fintech industry in Saudi Arabia. You can also register to the Fintech Summer Sessions and attend the upcoming sessions. I know that I've focused on I've gave a general overview on the updates of the open banking, and on the 5th week, one of our speakers will go a deep dive and focus about the open banking and other fintech related topics. So here all I have about the updates in the fintech ecosystem and the fintech industry in Saudi Arabia. I'm happy to receive any questions and to answer any questions that you have.
Manira, thank you very much for that. That was a great overview of what's happening in fintech, and super exciting to see a lot of the developments which have happened over the last few over the last year, both on the regulatory side, on the VC side, and developments across there. So super excited to see all of that. And we've got a lot of questions in the Q&A, so I'm just going to run through some of these as quickly as I can. Firstly, what do you mean by VC? That's come up a few times.
It means the venture capital.
Right, so venture capital being investors which are investing into fintech companies to support their growth. Excellent. And another question is related to the sandbox. Can you give a couple of minutes just on what do you mean by a sandbox exactly?
Okay, so basically when we say sandbox, when we have a technology solution or a fintech solution, we cannot just create the solution and go immediately operate in the market, because it might affect the market results, and it might be a bit risky, because it involves financial, it involves data related to people, to users. So what we do in order to make sure that these are safe solutions to operate in the market, we add them to a sandbox. The sandbox is basically it's a naming for the kids playground tool that is a sandbox where they can actually build stuff. So what we do is we get these solutions into something called a sandbox, which is actually a testing environment, where we test these solutions and make sure that it is complied to the regulations and it can operate in the market. And sometimes we don't have an actual regulation to these solutions. So what we do, we get them into this testing environment, and with testing these solutions, we build the regulation, which is the case that is happening with SAMA and CMA. So this way we can actually build the regulations and keeping update of the latest technology trends.
Excellent, thanks, Manira. And another question we have is just on open banking generally. So what changes will open banking have in the marketplace in Saudi?
Come again, Sagar?
What changes? What will open banking actually do for us in the kingdom? What changes are we going to be able to see?
Okay, so I'm going to give a very simple example. So basically, when it comes to open banking, I'm going to give one of the solutions that I'm personally using now, which is Daraham. Daraham and Mala'a, they have a solution where they can actually support the users to manage their finances. So instead of you just as a user, just going to the bank, let the bank manage all of your finances. You don't know where you're actually solving or let's say spending your money. You'll have companies like Mala'a, like Daraham, and other open banking solutions where they can have access to your data, to your financial data, and support you in managing this. So instead of only the banks and the financial institutions having the ownership of your financial data, it's going to be a decentralized ownership of the of your data. So this is a very simple example. I hope it can answer your question, and Sagar, you're more than welcome to add more in that.
No, I think you covered it well. I think, look, anyone who wants to, you can download these apps and start playing around to understand what open banking is. It's always better to download fintech solutions and actually live and breathe those fintech solutions to learn more about them. So I do think open banking is, as you said, it's going to be great for sharing data and being able to access your data and then do more things with the data, but also for making payments. In the future, you may not need to go to your bank account to make a payment. You may have an open banking API, which means that from whatever solution you're using, you can automatically make payments from your bank account there. So a lot of exciting developments related to open banking. Manira, one other question which we have regulators is about jobs, right? So how can somebody who's coming through this session be interested, wants to get a job in fintech? what are the different options and what does Fintech Saudi provide in that?
Okay, so you have multiple options where you can start a fintech related job. So it's either you already have an experience in fintech or let's say sectors related to fintech. I would basically say you can join our internship program, which I believe will be launched in the upcoming weeks, which will give you an opportunity to have a training, a co-op training, I believe, for up to 6 months within a fintech companies and actually get a real experience with the fintech companies. If you still don't have an experience in a fintech related skills, I would highly recommend you first of all join all of the Fintech Summer Sessions to get a general overview about fintech. And I would also encourage you to attend the training program that Fintech Saudi have with EMFT. I believe it's going to be launched by the next month. And correct me if I'm wrong.
November, that's going to be launched. Can't keep up with the activities we've got.
Yeah, so you can join that training program. I personally had a great benefit from attending that course. It's super helpful. It shows you all the areas of fintech. You can learn more about fintech, and you can actually live the experience of developing a fintech solution. And next year, when we launch the fourth version of the fintech career fair, you can just bring your CV and apply to one of the fintech companies.
Excellent. So that's covering jobs. I've got a few questions here from people who want to start fintech businesses. So I've got a few questions here from people who say, look, I want to start a fintech business. Where can I go? What can I do? Does Fintech Saudi have any resources to support me?
Yeah, sure. So Fintech Saudi do have initiatives and have resources that can support you in developing your fintech solution. So I would basically start with the Fintech Access Guide. The Fintech Access Guide is not only going to give you an overview of the regulations that is related to fintech, but it actually has a huge section that shows you how to develop an idea that is related to fintech. Second, we also have a program that is called the Pre-Seed Accelerator, where you can actually develop your fintech solution and fintech idea and then develop it into a business model. And by the end of the program, you can pitch it to VCs and to investors. You can also, there is a lot of, let's say, incubation programs and accelerating programs here in the kingdom, not only with Fintech Saudi, that they have programs that can actually support you in developing your idea and turning it into an actual solution.
Thanks, Munira. And I would second using the Fintech Access Guide. I think that's a great resource, not just about starting a fintech business, but also understanding the regulation. We, in the Fintech Access Guide, have highlighted how people can start their business, but also how they can navigate the different regulations in the kingdom around the sandbox, around getting the license. So definitely a good resource to use. We've got a few questions here on really just understanding what do we mean by fintech, and then what is a fintech company? So is it a startup? Is it something which is established? Is STC a fintech company? Just before I let you answer, Munira, I would highly recommend reviewing the sessions from last year, because we did cover that in a lot of detail about introduction to fintech and what we mean by fintech company. But Munira, if you want to give your take, then I can give mine as well.
Yeah, simply, so when we say fintech, is simply when we use technology to deliver financial solution. So the cards that you are using to deposit money or to withdraw money, this is a fintech solution. The ATMs are fintech solutions. So whenever we're using technology to deliver financial solutions, this is fintech. Apple Pay is considered fintech. STC, when we check on STC Pay and STC Bank, these are fintech solutions. So it's simply when you connect, when you use technology to deliver financial solutions, and it has different generations. And as Sagar mentioned, I would highly recommend you check the first session of last year. It will cover and give you a good overview about what is fintech and what are the different generations of fintech.
Excellent, Manira. And actually, another question which we've been asked is, we've got a target of 525 fintech companies by 2030. Isn't that a lot? Doesn't that mean that the market's going to be saturated with all these fintech companies? How's the market going to handle all of that?
Well, actually, it's not a lot. If we're gonna check on international numbers, this is actually not a huge number. And when we check, instead of just checking how many fintechs we're gonna have, let's check the status of the customers, the society that we have. We have a society who's very thirsty to technology, who are tech savvy, who are actually very adaptive to fintech solutions and to technology solutions. So these customers, this society wants more and more. So having a 525 fintech companies, just giving solutions to that society, believe me, it's not a very high number.
I would agree with you, Manira. I mean, if you look at UK's got 1,500, Singapore's got 2,000, 2,500, 525 fintech companies, I think is definitely achievable by 2030. And what we want are fintech companies solving problems. So we know there's a lot of problems with SMEs, finance for SMEs. We know there's still friction around payments. There's friction around investing, how you can develop savings. We've got to develop a strong savings culture in the kingdom. So there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of areas, a lot of challenges that need to be solved. And fintech solutions are going to be helping to solve a lot of those solutions.
And if I may add, Sagar, to the one who asked about how to start a fintech solution, the point that you just mentioned is highly important, to focus on the challenges in the market and use it to develop fintech solutions.
It's great. Manira, a few questions on the regulator. So just some questions about what does SAMA cover, what does CMA cover, and where does Saudi payments fit into all of that as well?
So if we want to check what SAMA and CMA cover, let me just get back to this slide. You can see here that SAMA covers the banking, finance, insurance, credit bureaus, and payments. As for CMA, they cover the security activities, investment funds, debt and equity instruments.
Great. And Saudi payments is under the central bank and supervises the payment companies, right? So they look after the payment processing companies on behalf of the central bank, and in addition to being the national payment network.
Yes.
Great. Just looking at a few more questions we've got. So there's questions around the Fintech Accelerator. What's an accelerator program? What does a Fintech Accelerator? Given you're leading on our Fintech Accelerator program, I think you're the best person to answer this question.
Yeah, so basically the Fintech Accelerator, we know that there is a challenge that fintech companies face regarding understanding and the comprehension of the fintech related regulations, either from SAMA and CMA. How to apply to the sandbox, what are the legal aspects that I need to cover, what are the regulations that I need to apply, which license am I related to? These are all questions that we know the fintech companies usually have. We have the Fintech Access Guide to give them a general overview, yet we know that they need more than that. They need more of a facilitation activities to support them and actually getting their applications completed and done to apply to the sandbox. So the Fintech Accelerator is considered to be one of its type in the world, which focuses on regulations, and it supports fintechs through 4-month program in developing their application to actually get permitted into the either regulatory sandbox for SAMA or the Fintech Lab for CMA.
Great. Manira, we've got a lot of questions. Again, I think this was covered in the beginning, but our housekeeping rules around, is this session recorded? Yes, it's recorded, and we'll be sharing all the recordings through YouTube at the end of the training program. Can I receive the slides? Yes, you can get a copy of the slides. Join the Telegram group. I've just added a link to the Telegram group in the chat again. So please do join the Telegram group so that you can answer any questions related, any questions you have, or any of the resources we have, we'll be sharing within the Telegram group. In terms of attendance, we've got a lot of questions about if you've come in from one email address and you want to use another email address. don't worry too much about it. We'll figure it out, but just try and be consistent about using the same email address for this week or for the future weeks. As long as we have 8 of your entries from the same email address, you will get your certificate. Don't worry. And even if you have any issues, the team is here to support you. So don't worry about that. We just want to make sure that you learn and get all the knowledge that you need in the marketplace. So Munir, another question is just around fintech in the GCC. So where does Saudi stand, and what else is happening in fintech in the GCC?
Okay, so when it comes to GCC, we have, I know that we have different, let's say, players like Fintech Saudi and the GCC. We have like Fintech Pay in Bahrain. We have Fintech Qatar also. They're also working as catalyst to support the fintech. So we're seeing an improvement. We're seeing a development in the GCC when it comes to fintech. So yeah, it's very well connected. We are actually at Fintech Saudi are very well connected with these enablers and the GCC ecosystem. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of development. We're seeing a lot of fintech solutions, and we're actually seeing a lot of fintech solutions either from Bahrain, Qatar, or Al Emirat are very interested to be operating in the fintech Saudi market here.
Yeah, and just to add to that as well, I think what we saw in the GCC was a lot of growth across the market. We've seen a lot of growth in UAE with the IFC and ADGM, and as Mira mentioned, Bahrain Fintech Bay doing a lot of great things as well. And Saudi is a big market in the GCC, so we do welcome a lot of international fintechs to come into the market here and work with locals. Look at engaging in our programs as well. And for us, it's very much about creating regional players. Each market itself is relatively small. If you consider the population of the GCC, it's smaller than countries like Indonesia, for example. So there is a lot of work which needs to be looked at for helping the fintechs to scale in the GCC to become regional players, which can then compete globally as well. And that's really important part of what Fintech Saudi does with our counterparts in the other hubs.
I can see a question here in Arabic that says, if I'm outside Saudi Arabia, is this sessions available for me? Believe me, even if you live in the moon, you can attend the Fintech Summer Sessions.
We had, I think last year we had people from about 30 different countries joining the Fintech Summer Session. Yeah. So for us, it's really about spreading that knowledge. For anybody who wants to learn from this, everyone's eligible for a certificate for participation at the end of this as well. So just a few questions. One question just around technology. And I wanted to see if you want to give a thoughts on this around technology, which you feel is particularly being used in fintech, or do you think is going to drive the future of fintech activity, particularly around, there's some questions around blockchain and AI.
I couldn't actually quite understand the questions again.
The questions are around the use of technology and what is the use cases of blockchain and AI and other technologies within fintech. Now, we've got a few sessions specifically on AI and blockchain as part of the Fintech Summer Sessions, but I just wanted to check, Munir, if you wanted to add anything.
One solution that comes to mind, I know it's not yet available here in Saudi Arabia, but the first and the obvious thing of using, let's say, blockchain when it comes to cryptocurrency, when it comes to AI and artificial intelligence, we can actually see that in very fintech solutions. So analyzing your behavior when it comes to open banking, this is actually using also artificial intelligence. But again, I'm not the actual expert here, so I would highly recommend you attend these sessions and get the actual let's say, information and the relationship of how these technologies are being used.
Great. I think it's a great area. It's a very fast-growing, developing area, and something that we certainly need to look at. And then just a couple of questions around the risks around fintech. So being able to use more technology, the cyber risks related to that, and what we're seeing in the kingdom, in that area in particular, around how we can mitigate some of the risks which are being created by reliance on say, technology, and what risks that opens up to.
Okay, so when it comes to risks and the using of technology, um, it's the same as the risk in using any other solution. But what I'm seeing here in Saudi Arabia, on the Saudi market, we're being proactive to let's say reduce the risk. For example, the risk of using the people's data and being and having the huge access of internationals to this data. What Sadaya did is that you need to store this data here in Saudi Arabia and the data center, so it would be illegal if you did it outside of Saudi Arabia. So we're doing some proactive activities to minimize this risk. I hope I answered this question, but what I believe is that using technology has the same risk as using any other solutions, and this is where we're heading, actually.
No, I agree with that, Munira. I think the only thing I'd add is we've got really strong regulators in the kingdom, and we're blessed to have very good regulators within SAMA and CMA. And that's helped us in historically. So if you think about the banking crisis of 2008 and 9, that didn't touch Saudi as it touched other countries because we had a very strong regulated environment. And we think that, and that regulation gives the trust in the system that when we're using fintech solutions in the kingdom, that these have been regulated in the right way. They have to go through a lot of hoops and a lot of hurdles to be regulated in the kingdom. So the solutions which we're using, there's a lot of trust in those ones. And as you said, Munira, the infrastructure itself in the kingdom is very strong to supporting data residency, to making sure that we're using the cloud in the right way. And there is opportunities to create more cybersecurity solutions to support this growth for fintech activity as well.
Great.
Just scrolling through if there's any other questions which we've missed. I think we've covered most of the questions. There are a few questions again about how do people get more involved in fintech. So I think you mentioned a lot of the programs which we work in. I think the other thing I'd add is join the newsletter. So subscribe to the newsletter, which we'll try and do anyway. But if you want to be proactive about it, click on the QR code, and you'll be, as part of the newsletter, you get access to all the different events, initiatives, and activities we have. I've got a few questions here about people who want to meet others in fintech to maybe look at developing solutions. The best way is the meetup events. Go to meetup events, go to conferences. We've got a great conference coming up called Seamless in the first week of September. So definitely look at registering for these events. But if you join the newsletter, you will get access to all the information from Fintech Saudi related to that as well.
And I would also add to that, Sagar, that I would, as you mentioned before, highly encourage you to download these applications, download these solutions, try them yourself, read more about them. First, you will get a very good solutions related to some issues you're facing or challenges within your life. Second, you will actually get a good understanding. Personally, I always believe in stories and examples to actually understand whatever that I need to understand. So reading the stories and checking the solutions of these fintech companies will give you a huge jump in understanding fintech solutions and fintech industry in general.
And I think that is, in addition to that, we've got a great resources page. So do go to fintechsaudi.com, look at the resources there. We've got our past annual reports, which have some great articles. We have our fintech cheat sheets on there. We've got reports we've written with other consultants. So that is a great sort of place to learn about fintech, to learn about what's happening in fintech. We've got examples of podcasts on there as well. So do have a look at that. And I think that will give you a good overview. In addition to these Fintech Summer Sessions, will give you a great understanding about fintech. And fintech is still a new area. So even if it's something you haven't touched before, and this is the first time you're hearing about fintech, you can get up to speed relatively quickly by being proactive and going through a lot of these resources. So I think we've covered most of the questions, Munira. So again, look, thank you very much for your time, Munira. I think that was an amazing overview of what's happening in fintech. It's set the tone for the next 9 weeks as well. And thank you everyone who's joined for the Fintech Summer Sessions today. Just to let you know, we will be here every week. So next week, same time, same place. please do join us. We're going to start now deep diving into a lot of these topics we discussed in this first session. So next week we'll be talking about alternative finance models for consumers. We've got Abdulaziz Sajja from Tabby being one of the biggest buy now pay later companies in the region, talking about the alternative finance models. So do stay tuned in for that. Again, join the Telegram group if you haven't already. Review some of the, if you're missing us too much, review some of the videos from last year, and tell your friends and family to join the registration links as well. So thank you very much for joining. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you again, Munira, and we look forward to seeing everyone again next week.
Thank you so much, Sagar. It was a real pleasure to be here today. And my only hope is after the Fintech Summer Sessions and our upcoming initiatives, I would see more of today's attendees coming saying that we want to start our fintech, developing our fintech solution, or we actually developed our skills in fintech and we want to get a job in the fintech area, or at least we've actually used fintech solutions. So thank you so much for attending. I only hope to see you for the upcoming sessions. It's very interesting sessions, as Sagar mentioned, and good luck to everyone.
Take care, everyone. Have a good evening.